Welcome everyone to the Elephants on Business podcast, improving your small business journey one episode at a time. In today's episode, we'll be discussing our top tips for running a small business with a newborn on the way. I'm joined here today by Sam, our Director of Accounting at Elephant Advisory. Both Sam and I have kids under 2, and we went through the journey of trying to grow and run a small business with a newborn. So we're well aware of kind of the trials and tribulations. Welcome, Sam.
G'day, everyone.
So we want to make sure up front, having a kid is one of the best things, I think, Sam, that ever happened to me. Definitely, I know for you, we have discussions about it all the time in the office. But it is a huge impact for your life. And if you don't realise it, and you will during the process, it can be very, very stressful when you're managing a lot of things. So that's what we're going to discuss today, kind of in hindsight, our tips, what we could have done better, because we definitely didn't do everything better. But Sam, I might jump right into it and just get a bit of background from you. When you had your little one, where were you at in business? What was happening in that kind of 9-month period leading up to it, and what was happening at the time the little one was born?
So I think me and Oz were probably 3 years, probably that stage in business. And that stage we were probably going through whether we were going to grow the business, or we originally started the business to keep it lean, small. So we're going through that stage where we were getting pretty full at capacity with me and Oz. So that's where we were kind of at.
And the decisions you were going through, because obviously in the first few years, you're really just trying to claw your way back to a salary, learn how to run a business, and you kind of reach that happiness point of, yep, things are going good. But both of you boys were like, geez, I remember we talked about it, you kind of hit maybe your targets earlier than you thought you would. And there was kind of decisions on whether to grow. And that's a big decision, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of like you go through that part where you just go like, this is what it's going to be like for the next 30 years. You're going to be working 60, 70-hour weeks. Or you get a team where it's different. You're managing a team and you might be able to take a week off. Yeah. When you're probably a sole trader, you just grinding, and you can't take a week. You take a week off, the business stops. So
so obviously that was kind of the decision stuff you were working on with Oz, and in the background, happy news, little one on the way. Did you, because you were so busy at work and stuff, did you actively think about, oh gosh, when the little one comes, I have to maybe restructure my day, or I have to get better at certain things, or you just like, I've got no time, I'm just dealing with today's problem?
Probably like that. It was just, see what happens kind of attitude, because kind of come in a good time for us. I think our daughter was due in June, so June's not too bad.
You timed it well for the accounting just before tax season kicks off.
Yeah, and then I suppose the bombshell was when you kind of gave us a call and said, how about we catch up for a lunch or something like that, and
that was probably in Jan. So the background for everyone listening: so Sam Oz had a great accounting business, and they were looking to kind of expand. Me, Gav had obviously a mortgage business, which is Elephant, and we were looking to kind of work with Oz and Sam on a more close relationship, kind of merge. And I gave Sam a call and Oz a call in Jan, so 6 months before your little one was due, I think, and we started discussion. So like merging a business is a massive thing. It's a long endeavour. We're at the final tail ends of finalising a lot of things, and it's a big deal. And poor Sammy, I already had Micah. So Micah was probably 6 months. My son Micah was probably 6 months already. So I had survived barely. I looked like death in that first lunch meeting, but a lot of stuff was going on in your life for business when the little one came. And for me, it was in the depths of COVID. Like, it was towards the tail end of Victoria's 20th lockdown here for COVID when I had Micah, which had its whole pros and cons, but I found it just one of the biggest changes ever to your life in an amazing way. But gosh, it put a lot of pressure on running a business. True?
Yeah, definitely.
And so what we might do is, so we've got, I think it's 8 tips here that we think in hindsight we could have done, we did to help small business owners there just try and manage that transition. But by no means, if I rattle through these in my head, I reckon I did one of them correctly. So a lot of it is hindsight. It's not like we're preaching here, but we're going to start at the top. And Sam, one of the biggest ones, or our number one, is setting and managing expectations with clients that you might have a different way of working.
Yeah, so I was really surprised by the feedback from all the clients. Usually it's, you're in the hospital and you're flicking around a few emails and just said, like, look, I'm going to get this in two weeks kind of thing, or whatever it is. Usually, could get it out in 1 or 2 days or whatever it is. And the response was like, oh, congratulations, take your time. Like, I'm like, no, I never get
and
this.
You were just like, what do you mean, take your time? And is it because, professional services, when you're dealing with, I know, a couple of hundred clients and stuff, and you quit a job to run a, quote, better business, your service level to your client is like a 12 out of 10. And I kind of found that managing expectations with clients, it wasn't that I needed to manage new expectations. It's just that I never asked them. Whenever someone sent me an email, I just went, oh my gosh, I need to respond now. Where when you said to them, yep, I have a little one, they're like, oh yeah, take your time. And it made me realize, well, I could have taken my time all this time and had I didn't have to do 70 hours a week. But I found it pretty amazing too. You kind of forget when you're running a business. People are people. People are nice. You're just like, you're constantly feeling like you're under the pressure, but people are very receptive to your life changes. They're super happy for you. Your clients really like you. It's bizarre, true?
Yeah, correct. I think it's, most people, our clientele is kind of like our age plus or minus 10 years. So I think everyone understands what you're going through.
And so obviously when you're growing and new clients are coming and like you're having a little one or you've just had a little one, did you ever say no to certain jobs or go, geez, that's not what I can do right now? Did you ever have to turn away work?
Yeah, we definitely did at that stage. It was like, if it didn't fit our criteria, we
said, no, it's not the right time.
Not that right time, not taking on whatever it is at this point in time.
And did that feel weird for 3 years of just going, yep, I'll do it, yep, I'll do it?
Yeah, it definitely is a change in mindset. But I think it's the most important thing is being on the same page as your business partners.
Yeah.
So like for me, it was, there's conversations with Oz, then yourself later on, of just where I'm currently at. You just can't, you just can't bottle it up yourself and then or make decisions on what you want to do for the business if that's what other people in the business don't want to do.
And that's such an important topic about, we're talking about managing client expectations, but just that expectation across the board is something you need to manage. You need to manage it with your partner at home that, I'm going to be there to support and help the little one, but I do need to run a business. And with your business partners, especially different life stages, right? And it's a big thing. It's quite difficult, the change of having a little one. I don't think you ever know until you go through it. And then so discussing it with a business partner that hasn't had kids or it's not even on the radar, it can be quite daunting to bring it up and say, I'm not going to be as present or I'm not going to be able to do 70 hours. True?
Yeah, and I think it's how I personally felt was you just felt like you're getting grabbed from all angles. Like you feel like you might be letting your wife down at home. You might feel like you're letting your business partner down. You feel like you might be letting your clients down. So you feel like you're letting everyone down, but I think that's one of your points here was just don't get too hard on yourself. Yeah. It's like you just got to try your best.
You got to try your best, absolutely. So that's kind of the first one. I think managing expectations, it's important to manage client expectations. I think first and foremost, that's kind of your revenue bloodline. But then in general, just the people around you, letting them know that, oh yeah, there's a change coming. I don't know what's going to do to me, but there's a change coming, right? So number two is about scaling back your to-do list. Every business owner, I think, has the work that they need to do. I need to do mortgages, and I need to do accounting. But there's also a whole bunch of stuff that you want to do for your business. Oh, I want a new website. Oh, I want to merge with another business. I want to do all these other things. But when you're having a little one or the first year, one of the best ideas, I think, to do is you write down all the things you want to do for your business that generally you do after hours, and then just focusing on one at a time. And if you don't get through it, that's okay. Don't try and start 10.
Because I think if I look back on my journey, it was like, one, you had the merge. Like that's one task that usually takes a year. Usually, in hindsight, you would go on, and beforehand, I was like, nah, like, baby's on the way, like, I don't really want to do this now. But sometimes things in business, probably the best thing you've ever done, comes up. And
At the weirdest time.
Yeah, so then, it's like you're saying, if there's 10 items on the list, maybe you scale back 8 of them, but the 2 higher ticket items, you still got to move ahead with them.
And that's probably a good lesson, I think, post kids. It's not like once you get past the newborn stage, you get all this time back. It's like a perpetual, you want to be there, a constant battle between making sure you're there at home and making sure you're present at the work. And I think scaling back, and the next 3 points kind of relate to it, but the item of scaling back and being meticulously planned, we in this business have tried over, I reckon, the last 6 months to be like super planned. And how do you think that's been more easier for you to know that that's what jobs you need to do versus trying to take on everything?
Yeah, I think it's a lot better. You just more planned you are, the more you'll succeed. You got to be able to adapt though, like, because things change. I'm guessing, that's how you felt as well. It's like from the journey from 0 to 12 months of the baby. Like, it's like you could have something planned, the way, this is our routine, and then 4 months in they might start teething,
the cold journey of teething,
or something pops up where you have to rush home during the day, help out, or whatever it is. So you got to learn to adapt, but I think you got to be planned as much as you can, where you block time out, and then like if it's got to jump on late at night, you jump on late at night. So
and I think that's like very, very true, where you have to be as planned as you can, but then just realize that in like a drop of the hat, your plan could just disintegrate into nothing, and you have to leave everything and then just drive home to help out, or just stay at home because the little one's sick, or you didn't get a good night's sleep. So all those things you had planned for tomorrow, they're gone. But again, at the bottom, we'll talk about kind of don't put yourself down, but you just have to just try be planned. You'll most likely fail because it's a challenge having a kid, but just keep going.
Yep.
So that's the second one, scale back, be a bit more planned. The next one is to delegate. And sometimes I think for Oz and Sam, I think delegate, because you didn't have staff at that point, you had to kind of delegate between each other. On my side, I had staff, which was Gav and a small offshore team, and I had to delegate downwards. But for me, this is something I failed drastically at. I did not delegate anything because I didn't know how much I was doing beforehand and how much I lost, like half the time I could have.
Yeah.
What about you on your end? Did you sort of chat with Oz about you might need to do certain things or not certain things?
Yeah, probably failed again with that is, given where we were at, it was like he had enough on his plate as it was. I had enough on my plate. So it was just like, probably just felt like survival mode, really.
Yeah.
So,
and then if you didn't delegate, how did you get through it? Did you just have to work the extra
I
hours?
think it
Or
was
you just exhausted, or you dead, or what?
No, I think it was probably, there's a couple of points later on, but what made me survive, like got through it, was blessed as probably COVID, and it wasn't really face-to-face meetings, and I worked pretty much from home, where you save 2 hours commuting. That
huge difference.
You could get that 2 hours through.
And those 2 hours may have just been to settle yourself at home, enjoy time with the little one, give your partner a break. It's not necessarily when there's free time you have to just jam work in. Or sometimes it's just free time to just spend with the family, and that gives you enough energy to go and get through the day. I think I didn't realise how much a little one can just centre your day. Like before I had a kid, if I had a bad day, I'd be like, I might go, there was just certain avenues that I would do to just recenter myself. So I might eat great food, or I might go do some exercise. But then when you have a little one, I found sometimes the biggest stress relief for me is just spending time with Micah, playing with him, building Lego with him, and you forget everything else. And then when you come back to work, you're kind of like a bit more focused. You know what you want to delegate. Is that what you kind of feel as well sometimes?
Yeah, I think we were talking about the other day, in the mornings, like you're up early and then you get an hour or two, and it's really good. You come, and then it's something you look forward to when you get up out of bed. Before, it's just funny, is like before kids, you're probably like thinking, I'm going to go to gym,
Yeah.
or you struggle to get out of bed. I'm tired, or whatever it is. And now it's like you got no choice. You're up at 5:30, and
You got no choice.
away you go.
You're up no matter what because the little one gets up. But, I think delegating is a skill set. Like, you're not taught to delegate. You go to school, no one teaches you how to hand off work to someone else because you have to do all your assignments. You go to uni, it's all on you. You go and start your career, you're probably at the lower end of your employee journey. So, like, you have to just be doing work, where delegating is a big skill set. And, like, we still struggle at it in this business. But if you can be planned early on and really focus on delegating, I think you can save yourself a lot of time, but also really grow your team members to just take other parts of your business and maybe they can flourish in their role. So that's number 3. Delegation is really important. Number 4 is offshoring, which I guess is a function of delegating. We have an offshore team here now, and it's now ballooned to like 12 or 13, I think. I've got another interview today for it. And so we weren't very planned. We were offshoring while you had your little one, and it was a lot of work to do with that. But in hindsight, would you have, like, in hindsight now that you have a little one, how good is offshoring been for you?
Yeah, in hindsight, it would have been like set it up 1 year before.
Train, get ready.
Exactly. But with business, you don't know what you don't know.
And sometimes you don't want to put in costs too early just because you don't know how hard it might be. But capacity with offshoring or capacity with staffing, it's probably staffing and offshoring together, is a huge thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, with a delegated offshore, like, couldn't recommend it more when you do, having someone to lean on during that period of time, or,
Getting staff in to do the work.
Yeah, correct, yeah.
And then
you might even go, like, at that period of time, go overs on staff to plan to, have that extra support.
And I don't know about you, Sam, but for me, once the little one came, like, I'm pretty good, and I guess by the nature of our finance accounting industry, like, you're good at crunching numbers, you're good at managing your cash flow and your profit and loss in your business. But there were times where you've had sleepless nights and you don't really care about the money. You just want the stress relief. And you're right, having staff and acknowledging that maybe you're going a bit overs on staff or you're overs on capacity just so you can have the time back, it's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, and I suppose advice would be, you never get that time back. Like, your child never goes back to being born again.
Yeah,
they're not going. The first time they start crawling or whatever it is,
you don't get that back. And I think that's such an important point. Especially, I found my little one was 2 yesterday. Well, yesterday when we're recording this right now, but 2 in the middle of September. And you looked at him yesterday, and I was cutting the birthday cake. And I'm like, I'm never going to see you crawl again. I'm never going to see you wobble when you stand up again. And I'm like, I'm bloody glad I was there. And obviously COVID was a big part of that because I was stuck at home, and it was just one of the best things that had ever happened to me because you're just there. Mm-hmm. You're there to take care of things. Number 5, which is automating your business, which I'm a big believer on. I always tinker with apps. Sam, Oz, Gav, they all hate me because I'm trying to implement a new app every day. But Sam, we've kind of really drastically pushed offshoring. We've pushed delegation, and we've really pushed just the systems and software we've used in the last couple of months. Yeah. How have you found the importance of having good systems and software behind you?
Yeah, I think it's very important. You don't realise as well, like, sometimes when you look back on it, like one small app or change, it might be like
a drastic difference.
Yeah, we added like Calendly, so clients can book in. Usually you could have been in the past going up and back 10 emails, and take 2 days for someone to book in. Now it can be just like they book in. You obviously book out those important times, and then it's booked in. So it's like, it doesn't seem much, but it's just like
it compounds.
There's 10 of those small things that you do,
especially in kind of your in your workflow in terms of the accounting seasons. There's like known periods where clients are going to come to you, right? So there's tax season, there's BAS season, there's tax planning season. There's kind of like recurring client meetings you have to constantly have. And if you're having to manage like a small thing like a calendar, a $10 app, you don't realize can save you 20 hours, which is huge. Like 20 hours more with your kid a month is amazing, well worth the money. And we use a whole range of apps, and we might have another episode on just the random ones that we use and have found. But automation flows onto our sixth item of like the tip. I would say is that I was pretty good at, which is calendar management, like getting your whole life into your calendar is a big thing. I'm a believer on blocking out time, making sure you have time with your kid, time for yourself, time for work. I found that now I'm a bit of a calendar whiz.
I think I was at the start probably not the best at that, but then you really, once you go through the journey, then you realise, and then you have to
block out time.
Yeah,
and especially if you do all these other things, right? So if you do delegate, if you do offshore, if you have more staff, well, it kind of, they all, albeit you're not doing the work anymore because you've got a software tool to use, or you've got a person to help you, or a staff member to delegate, but it's not like you do less work. Now you just have to manage more work.
Yeah.
And you have to watch the work and watch workflow. And I kind of do that on my calendar. Like my to-dos are on my calendar. The time I want to go to the gym's on my calendar. There are some days I have 15 things on my calendar and I miss every single one of them because Micah's sick, or I want to stay at home, or something drastic's happened. But at least I can go back to that day and go, oh, I missed all these things. I'm just going to move it to the next day. Is that how you manage your time? You kind of, because of your travel time and the little one and stuff, are you finding that blocking time to do certain things is the way you like to work?
Yeah, you just got to block that times, and then with the offshoring, like the hours they work is a little bit off our time, so they kind of get in 11:30. So then part of your block time is you got to before 11:30 have the workflow scheduled to them.
Yeah.
If they haven't got the work, then it's your problem, really.
Well, then you're paying and then not getting the output, which is the worst situation you can be. And I found that sometimes when you have staff or you build capacity for life changes, it can actually make you a more productive person because people are looking at you for work where, I don't know, before I didn't have staff and stuff, I would just bottle all the work in and at 10 at night go, all right, I'm going to work 4 hours and finish the work, where now you have to be very planned and go, I've got to give this to this person, I've got to review this in 2 days. I think it made me a much more productive person using my calendar and doing all these things in one big swoop.
Yeah.
Do you think in hindsight that because you did a lot of things, right? You focus on offshoring, you delegated, you hire all these things, doing it all at once. Did you feel like it was a shit show, but you just had to get it done?
Yeah, at the time it was, but then it's been the best thing for the business, and it's been great because it's like, you can see it probably should have done 12 months prior, but you can't always get everything perfect. So,
do you think that sometimes, albeit we're talking on this episode about telling people to try and do these things earlier, sometimes you just can't do it earlier because you need the pressure to force you to go and make drastic change, which is not the best thing, but sometimes it is the only way.
Yeah, and then I think we were saying one of the first points was if there's 10 items on your list, do the two most important for that year.
Yep.
Well, the two most important things for that year was obviously one, merging, and then two, creating an offshore, having a team. So
big things,
huge things. But then obviously we scaled back other things of like whatever it was, and just go, let's get this thing up and running.
Yeah, we scaled back a lot of things. In hindsight, we didn't focus on marketing. We didn't kind of improve processes inside. We were just focused on capacity, more people quickly into this business to help us. And then when we got the people, then we were like, great, we have the bodies to do the work. And then it was like, oh, geez, got to train them, got to do all these other things. But we did focus. I think it was kind of like in 2 weeks we had 3 new staff, and that was extraordinary. We all pulled our weight, but
I think that's an important point. Usually most businesses or in professional services, there's 2 main real divisions. There's like sales, marketing, and back-end processing.
Yeah.
Where when you're going probably through this journey, a lot more important is the back-end processing, because that's where you need help. So you probably back off on sales, marketing division in those periods of time.
Well, you also don't want to take on new clients and not be able to deliver service. Then adds to your stress and all this kind of stuff, where we go through phases in this business where I think it's important to go, maybe we're going to hold off on new clients or not actively go and find new clients. We just need to make sure the business can handle itself, or let's just test me working 1 day a week less because if you don't have that back office support, it can all fall into a heap. You can and it can fall into a heap just because of the pressure. And we see that a lot in business. Like, accelerated growth, I always say, is cool. It's like, great. It sounds like a great story. Oh, we're doubling, we're tripling, we've got 50 new clients. But internally, that's a lot of stress. And to add that on with a newborn and learning one of the greatest things in the world, to be a parent, is massively difficult.
And when there's that stress like that, potentially then you lose your key staff members. They're not happy.
Yeah.
So
it compounds.
Everything becomes a problem.
And, it's really important to understand that. I think when you're stressed, you make you kind of compound. You can make multiple bad decisions in a row, where if you make a good decision, or you've planned, or you delegate and you do these things, you make a good decision, it somehow leads into more good decisions. You kind of get on a run of good decisions because you're in the zone and you're focused and you're taking care of yourself. But when you have a newborn and you're stressed off your head and you've got all these different things, you can fall trapped to making a bad decision. To solve that bad decision, you're making another short decision, short term.
Did you find, I found, you feel like you make very quick decisions because you don't have time to think about things.
Yeah, and I read all these articles, fast decisions, Amazon makes fast decisions. Just like, man, I'm not Amazon. Like, I don't, but you're right. I had to, you just make calls, and a lot of it's based on your gut, and then some of them just goes real bad, and some of it goes well, but you do have to become way more like, yep, we'll do that now. Instead of going, I'm going to take a week to think about things, because, the week goes real quick. What about you?
Yeah, I suppose that's like the offshoring, and like we're thinking about it for 3 years.
And then 3 days we had 3 staff, and then now it's at 12 plus. But yeah, back to the kind of thing of like, it is such an important thing to acknowledge. It's 24 hours in the day. Now, a large part of your day is wanting to be a really good parent and hanging out and being a good husband, a partner to your family life. But then so your calendar helps you make sure you're balancing out that day across now multiple competing priorities. The last two, and the number 7 is, a real quick one, is that COVID helped me like set up a home office. I think previously, I don't know how I would have done the previous world of coming into work every day, but I don't know, I'm lucky, work is very close to my home, and I sometimes come to the office, but a good home office, Sam, is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, definitely. This day and age, I think, people would go for the 3-2 or 2-3 or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be 5 days from home or whatever it is. It's because then you don't want to feel you're away from your work colleagues and the environment in the office as well. And it's probably healthy to get away a little bit as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's worth its weight in gold by being able to, jump on late on some nights, or having those days from home as well.
And just also knowing that in the mornings when you have this great plan and it all falls in a heap and you have to stay at home because you have a little one that's sick and you want to really help out, or you can't send them to childcare, that you do have when they're napping, or if you need an hour or your partner's looking after the little one, you can go to a dedicated space. It's locked away. It's got your little laptop. It's got your setup. It's kind of mimicking work, and you kind of plug in and you can work, because 1 hour of productive work can be 4 hours of just dicking around in the office.
Yeah, exactly.
we do that all the time. Like, come in, I'm going to work, and then a conversation starts and everyone joins in, and you're like, oh,
lunchtime.
Shit, it's lunchtime. Oh, man, if I was at home today, I would have done so much more work. But, that's the enjoyment of having colleagues and business. But I think 7, home office, so important.
Yep, very important.
All right, the last one. So, we talked a lot about them, and I'll summarise the 8 points. But the last one, I think, is a culmination of things. Is just don't forget to look after yourself. Like, watch your stress levels. Try your best to get good sleep. Try your best to just enjoy the starting journey of parenthood.
Yeah, I think it's just talk about health and stuff like that. But usually, what they say is work, health, and home life, family. But unfortunately, sometimes one of them gives way. Oh. So it's very hard to get all 3. But
it is. It's super hard to get all 3. And in this kind of comment or this tip, it's just like, you try for all those things, right? But man, don't put yourself down when it doesn't go well. Like, I had clients unhappy and they emailed and they voiced their unhappiness. It is what it is. It might happen. I do my best. I apologise. But at the end of the day, I've got a really important thing at home that I need to balance, and it might be hard to say, but like you have to prioritise home life, and that's okay. And you shouldn't feel bad about that. You shouldn't feel guilty at all. And there's obviously the tips today are trying to make sure that you do it better. But I failed a million times.
Yeah, and it's just such a big adjustment, I suppose. It's like, you know, like I was probably, you know, loves going to gym 5 days a week, and
and Gav goes to dinner 5 nights a week, and me and Sam, well, what are we doing tonight, Sammy? Going home, giving dinner, playing, putting them down, making sure they don't get up. What are you doing the next day? That same routine. And I think, you know, for anyone out there who's listening and you get to the end of this episode, like, and you've got a newborn on the way, don't worry. It's like the best thing in the world. Yeah. It's the best thing that ever happened to you, and all this kind of stuff, whether you do it or these 8 points of managing expectations, scaling back, delegating, offshore, calendar, automating, home office, looking after yourself. If you do none of them, it's still the best thing in the world.
Yeah, you wouldn't take it back.
At all. Amazing. Thanks everyone for listening in. We'll look forward to bringing more episodes very soon. Thanks, Sammy.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.